The BRICS alliance, can they overtake the US and EU? For decades, the US and Europe have dominated the global economy. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency, the West controls major financial institutions, and global trade revolves around them. But that might be changing. The BRICS alliance, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is growing stronger. They're expanding, challenging Western financial dominance, and even planning their own currency. Some believe this could be the beginning of a new world order, one where the US and EU are no longer at the top. So, can BRICS actually overtake the West? And if they do, what happens next? Let's break it down. First, let's talk about what BRICS actually is, and why people are paying so much attention to it. BRICS started as an economic group in the early 2000s, bringing together 5 major emerging economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Together, these countries make up about 40% of the world's population and roughly 25% of global GDP, and that number is growing. Unlike the G7, which is dominated by the US and Europe, BRICS represents countries from multiple continents that feel underrepresented in global decision-making. But what's really making headlines? They're growing. In 2023, BRICS announced it was expanding, inviting countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the UAE to join. More nations, including Argentina and Egypt, are considering joining too. This isn't just a group of emerging markets anymore. This could be a serious global power bloc. So why is BRICS suddenly a big deal? Well, for 3 major reasons. One of the biggest ways the US maintains global influence is through the dollar. Right now, most international trade, including oil, is done in dollars. This gives the US enormous power, but BRICS wants to change that. China and Russia have already increased trade using their own currencies instead of the dollar. Saudi Arabia, the world's biggest oil exporter, is now considering selling oil in Chinese yuan instead of dollars. BRICS is even exploring a new common currency to challenge the dollar's dominance. If more countries stop using the US dollar for trade, demand for it could drop. That would weaken America's financial power and give BRICS countries more control over the global economy. The US has the world's largest economy, but China isn't far behind. Some experts believe that by 2030, China's economy could overtake the US. India, another BRICS member, is also growing rapidly, with one of the fastest expanding economies in the world. China is leading in manufacturing, AI, and global trade. India is becoming a major hub for tech and services, attracting big investments. Together, these countries are shifting economic power away from the West. For decades, the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, or IMF, have been dominated by the US and Europe. These institutions decide which countries get financial aid, loans, and support. But BRICS is creating its own alternatives. The new development bank, launched by BRICS, is an alternative to the World Bank. They're offering loans to developing countries without the strict conditions of Western institutions. This gives countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America another option, reducing their reliance on the West. So with all of this growth and influence, could BRICS actually overtake the US and EU? Well, it's complicated. While BRICS is growing fast, it has some serious obstacles to becoming a true global superpower. Unlike the EU or NATO, BRICS isn't fully united. China and India, for example, have border tensions and don't always see eye to eye. Russia is under heavy sanctions due to the Ukraine war, and Brazil's leadership shifts between pro-Western and pro-BRICS policies. Without strong internal unity, challenging the West becomes much harder. Even though BRICS is pushing for de-dollarization, the US dollar still makes up over 58% of global foreign exchange reserves. The euro is another 20%. The Chinese yuan just 3%. For BRICS to seriously challenge the dollar, they need a trusted, stable alternative, and that's not easy to build overnight. Economically, BRICS is rising, but when it comes to military alliances, diplomacy, and global leadership, the US and NATO still dominate. Most of the world's top military powers, including 7 of the top 10 defense budgets, belong to the US, NATO, or EU countries. BRICS may be strong economically, but it doesn't have the same global military reach or political influence as the West. So, will BRICS actually take over the world economy, or will it remain a rising challenger? Let's look at possible scenarios. If BRICS continues to expand, strengthens its financial system, and builds a true alternative to the dollar, it could become a serious competitor to the West. This would shift global trade, finance, and diplomacy, creating a more multipolar world. Despite BRICS's growth, the US and EU still control key financial institutions, military alliances, and global governance. If BRICS struggles with internal divisions or economic challenges, the West could maintain its dominance. The most likely scenario? Neither side wins. Instead of one group dominating, we could see a more balanced world where BRICS and the West both hold significant influence. This could lead to a new era of global competition or cooperation. BRICS is rising fast, but overtaking the US and EU won't be easy. The world is changing, and while BRICS has major economic momentum, it still faces challenges in unity, financial dominance, and global influence. So what do you think? Will BRICS become the world's next superpower, or will the West maintain its grip on the global economy? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more deep dives into global economics and politics. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.